Today, we are exposing 5 supermarket minced meat brands that are turning your dinner into a greasy, watery mess. They are sold as 5-star lean or finest Angus, but in the pan, they behave like pumped-up slop and mystery fat blends. And stay with me, because I will also show you 3 clean, meaty options that are actually worth your money. We have all seen it. Mince that leaks a lake of liquid, turns gray instead of brown, and smells a bit off. That is because behind the Happy Farmer photos is a system built on volume, gas-flushed packs, and labeling loopholes. So today, we are not just naming names, we are exposing the patterns, from watery lean mince to fake premium Angus. Let us start with the one that made national news for turning a frying pan into soup. Number 1. Coles Drover's Choice Beef Mince, the 300 milliliter spaghetti bolognese soup. Coles Drover's Choice Beef Mince looks like the perfect family value option. Big tray, rustic name, price that makes sense when you are feeding a crowd. You have probably grabbed it thinking, mince is mince, may as well save a few dollars. But one Tamworth mother of 6 went viral when she showed what she said actually came out of her Drover's Choice pack. She put about 1.5 kilograms in the pan and said she ended up draining out around 300 milliliters of liquid, almost a full can of soft drink, before she could even start her sauce. Her words were that she was so sick and tired of buying products that rip people off. So what is going on? Coles strongly denies adding water and points out that adding water would be illegal and they would not get away with it. A meat science academic backed that up, saying supermarkets cannot legally pump water into mince. Instead, the explanation is a mix of natural moisture plus how the mince is ground, packed, and cooked. Large volumes in a pan will stew in their own juices rather than sear if you do not spread them out. But here is what matters for you as a shopper. When you are paying over $20 for a tray and watching a huge chunk of that weight bubble away as gray liquid, it does not feel like value. In the pan, this kind of mince often simmers instead of sizzling, turns from red to a dull gray sludge before it ever really browns, and leaves you with thin, watery sauce unless you drain and reduce like crazy. The label suggests hearty, country-style beef. For many families, the reality is thin, watery mince that behaves more like stew than sear. And if you think that is just a Coles problem, Number 2 shows how a 5-star lean label can still leave you with a soup in your frying pan. Number 2. Aldi Gindura Station 5-star beef mince, lean label, liquid reality. Aldi Gindura Station 5-star beef mince looks like the budget health hack of your dreams. 5-star branding, cheaper than Coles and Woolworth's. Similar lean macro numbers when you scan it in an app. It sounds like a simple, smart swap. But one Oz bargain user put it to the test and got a nasty surprise. They noticed Aldi Gindura 5-star mince gave off significantly more water than the Coles and Woolworth's equivalent, even though the nutrition information looked the same. Same supposed fat percentage. Very different behavior in the pan. Why is that a problem? Because when you are paying a premium for 5-star lean mince, you expect meat, not extra water. That shopper even wondered if higher water content was how Aldi could hit the same lean number at a cheaper price, proportionally less fat, more moisture, still technically within the 5-star bracket. They started to suspect this was the meat version of skim milk-style labeling, a legal minimum that does not tell the whole story. Officially, supermarkets cannot just inject water. Food standards law in Australia tightly regulates this. But as that customer found out, how the mince is processed and handled can drastically change how much liquid you are left boiling off in your kitchen. In real life, That means burgers that shrink into sad little pucks, tacos that leak orange liquid, and bolognese that never quite thickens unless you cook it to death. On the surface, Gindura 5-star looks like the smart, lean, budget choice. Underneath, many shoppers feel they are trading a few dollars saved for a big step down in cooking performance and eating experience. And if you think sticking to the big two protects you from that. Number 3 is what can happen when Woolworth's generic mince ends up in your pan instead of a butcher mince. Number 3, Woolworth's generic beef mince, the pumped meat suspicions. Woolworth's has a wall of trays that all look reassuringly similar. 100% Australian beef, clean font, green branding. For a lot of people, that feels safer than a random butcher they do not know. But shoppers are starting to notice a pattern. On an Australian Reddit thread, one user flatly admitted they had made the mistake of buying Woolworth's mince. In the comments, another said Woolworth's meat, including chicken, feels so dense prior to cooking, then your pan is full of water, and the meat is about half the size once cooked. Their blunt conclusion in that comment was that Woolworths are buying pumped meat. Now, just like with Coles, we have to be clear. Intentionally pumping extra water into fresh meat is not allowed under Australian food law, and major retailers insist they follow those rules. There is no official proof that Woolworths is breaking that law, but the experience for some shoppers is hard to ignore. Dense raw texture, big liquid loss, and finished dishes that feel lighter and drier than they should. So what does that actually mean for your body? You think you are getting a decent protein hit, but a portion of that 500-gram pack is moisture you will tip down the sink. You might overcook the mince while trying to drive off all that liquid, ending up with rubbery sawdust like meat. You are paying extra for the convenience of a supermarket pack while sacrificing both taste and texture. The packet suggests 100% Australian beef and implied quality. The pan often tells a different story: shrinkage, stewing, and frustration. And if you thought the problem was just budget mince, number 4 shows how even the finest Angus label can sometimes be more sizzle than steak. Number 4, Coles Finest Angus Beef Mince. Premium price, hidden details. Coles knows people are waking up to mince quality, so they created a finest range, including Coles Finest Angus Beef Mince, to catch the shopper who is willing to pay more for better meat. The branding screams premium, Angus beef, higher price point, fancy packaging. But when CanStar Blue looked into it, they found something interesting. Coles Finest Angus Mince does not list full nutritional information on the pack or on the website, and legally it does not have to unless it makes a specific fat claim. So if you are counting macros or watching fat intake, you are buying in the dark. When they asked Coles about it, the supermarket said this finest mince is made to the same target fat content as their 4-star lean mince, roughly similar grams of fat per serving. In other words, nutritionally, it is basically the 4-star mince, just in fancier clothes. So, why does that matter? Because you might be paying a noticeably higher price for 500 grams of finest Angus, thinking it is leaner, cleaner, or structurally different from the basic tray, when in reality the fat target is the same, and the lack of a nutrition panel means most people will not notice. In the pan, a lot of people report that Angus mince does not behave dramatically differently. You still see a noticeable fat layer render out. You still need to drain if you are making a lighter sauce. The flavor bump is there, but not always enough to justify the price gap. The label suggests top-of-the-line, restaurant-style, Angus quality. The reality, as critics point out, is a product that quietly shares the same fat target as mid-tier mince, while charging you more for the word finest. And if you think swapping species might save you, maybe you say to yourself, I will just grab that pork and veal mince for bolognese. Number 5 is where things get even murkier. Number 5. Supermarket pork and veal mince blends, the gourmet illusion. Walk past the red meat trays, and you will see them. Pork and veal mince blends, often sold as the authentic choice for bolognese or meatballs. Woolworths, for example, sells a pork and veal mince pitched as perfect for pasta sauces. On the surface, it looks gourmet. 2 meats, 1 convenient tray, neat, tidy cubes. But underneath, there are a few issues that worry a lot of people. First, transparency. Product pages often keep the details light, pork and veal mince, perfect for bolognese, with only basic important information. What is the actual fat percentage? What is the ratio of pork to veal? You are rarely told clearly unless you dig into small print or contact the company. Second, pork and veal are naturally fattier and more delicate meats. They are easier to overcook into dry, crumbly mince if you are not careful, especially when you do not know how fatty the blend is. For anyone expecting this to behave like lean beef mince, it can be a disaster. Spluttering fat, greasy sauces, and meat that goes from soft to grainy in minutes. Third, sourcing questions. Veal raises animal welfare concerns for many shoppers. In Australia, it can be produced under higher standards than in some countries, but supermarket labels often do not give you much to go on beyond product of Australia. If you care about how those animals were raised, a generic pork and veal blend with minimal detail may not sit well. The marketing angle is chef secret, authentic Italian, perfect for bolognese. The reality can be a high-fat, low-transparency mix that behaves unpredictably in the pan and leaves you with a sauce that feels heavier than it should. If you have ever thought, why did that fancy pork and veal bolognese sit like a brick in my stomach? Now you know where to start looking. The pattern you cannot ignore. Across all 5 of these, a few ugly patterns keep showing up. Water and shrinkage, from Drover's Choice to Gindura, and the Woolworth's trays, shoppers keep reporting mince that dumps out huge amounts of liquid and shrinks dramatically when cooked. Label games, 5-star, finest, Angus, and gourmet blends that sound scientific or premium but hide key details like actual fat content, ratios, or processing methods. Industrial opacity, huge processors, central packing, modified atmosphere packaging, and you are left guessing about freshness, trimmings used, and how long it has been sitting around. It is not just one bad tray. It is a whole system optimized for shelf life, visual appeal, and margin, not for honest, straightforward meat that treats your body with respect. So let us flip it. Now we will talk about 3 minced meat options that move you back towards real food, clearer sourcing, and performance in the pan that your grandmother would actually approve of. Now let us talk about the options that are actually worth your time. Now let us talk about the options that are actually worth your money. Safe pick number 1. Single-source, grass-fed Angus mince. Instead of anonymous supermarket trays, look for butchers who sell single-source mince, like the kind described by Ash Brothers. Their description is brutally simple. Premium beef from a single source, grass-fed animal. No marketing fluff about stars. Because it comes from one source, you are not getting a random blend of trimmings from 50 different carcasses. In the pan, that means real browning instead of stewing, and a beefy aroma that smells like steak, not wet cardboard. Yes, it costs a little more, but you are paying for quality, not a fantasy. Safe pick number 2. IGA in-store premium mince. Here is a trick most people miss. Independent. IGA stores often run their own in-store butchery. Take IGA Natalia as an example. They list products clearly labeled as made in store. This is not a faceless national brand. It is a store where someone on site is responsible for the grind. That means the meat is ground closer to the time you buy it, using selected cuts rather than just mixed trimmings. When you build a relationship with an in-store butcher, you get transparency that actually protects your plate. Safe pick number 3. 100% beef with zero additives. The third safe lane is to chase mince that loudly commits to nothing but beef. Look at products like Master Grocers Australia, Black Angus Lean Mince, or Baggy's Beef Burger Patties. They explicitly state, no additives, no preservatives, just 100% pure beef. This matters because once beef is ground, it is easy for manufacturers to hide soy extenders and flavor enhancers. The more firmly a product says just beef, the lower that risk. In the pan, these products caramelize properly and give you a clean, meaty base for everything else you add. So here is the simple fix. Somewhere along the way, we stopped thinking of mince as meat and started thinking of it as a packaged product. We let marketing words replace simple questions like, what animal did this come from? The good news is, you do not have to go full homestead to fix it. Next time you shop, buy one pack from the safe side of this list and cook it side by side with your usual supermarket tray. Use the same pan, use the same recipe. Then decide what you want to keep feeding your family. If this video made you want to check the label on your fridge right now, tap like so more Australians see it. And if you want more deep dives that protect your plate from supermarket shortcuts, hit subscribe so you do not miss the next one. And tell me in the comments, which label shocked you the most? The watery value trays or the sneaky 5-star mince? Share your stories below so we know exactly what to dump and what to demand.